Joining me now to talk about it, Tom Fitton, who is president of Judicial Watch. Tom, great to see you.
Hey, Craig.
You know, it's not just people who have been ordered by a judge to leave. They've exhausted the legal process, but they refuse to leave. But it's also people who are convicted criminals. Everything from rape to murder to burglary to car theft to drug peddling, assault and battery. So, you know, is that aspect of it being overlooked by people who are claiming this is a terrible thing to evict these people?
Well, they're almost always, in addition to those crimes you're talking about, here in violation of criminal law. Most people here illegally aren't here and violated administrative issues or civil administrative law. They're here in criminal violation of the law. So you have illegal aliens who've gone on to commit additional crimes, which obviously need to be a focus because many of those crimes are violent and harm society generally. But then you have those who are here illegally who have ignored the rule of law in terms of failing to show up or abide by deportation orders. And if we can't do that, that's just open borders. And the left has just gone off the deep end. The veil has been lifted. They want no enforcement of immigration laws. This goes beyond amnesty, which essentially says everyone who got here till yesterday should be allowed to stay. What it tells you is it tells everyone wanting to come in, you get here, we'll protect you, the laws be danged. And one of the other aspects of what went on this weekend, the lawlessness of the illegal aliens here is one thing, but then you have public officials aiding and abetting and obstructing justice, in my view. You had the mayor of New York tweeting out the locations of potential raids yesterday,
right,
placing not only the ICE agents but other innocents at risk. Unbelievable obstruction. If I were running the DOJ, I'd be initiating obstruction investigations into these public officials who were out there trying to thwart federal enforcement programs.
Well, and there's another law, Tom, that was passed more than 20 years ago that said harboring and aiding an illegal alien, and that's the term that was used in the law, is a felony. And so public officials who are doing precisely that, they're alerting them in advance and therefore aiding them, are committing crimes, aren't they?
You have members of Congress doing it. As I said, you had the mayor of New York doing it, and anyone who had access to a Twitter platform who was a leftist politician doing that type of activity. And obviously, individuals have rights. Even illegal aliens here, they have rights. The courts recognize and the law recognizes, Greg.
Yeah.
But these are folks who have avoided and ignored the rule of law. Beyond just crossing here illegally. They've had their day in court,
sure,
and they're still they're fugitives from justice. And to have our public officials undermine the rule of law by aiding and abetting them, as you point out, it just shows you the rule of law crisis isn't just about trying to remove the president through a coup. It's undermining the rule of law at the border. It's undermining the ability to enforce the law in the interior. Our republic is being buffeted from all sides by leftists who want to break the law for political purposes.
Yeah, it's always amazing to me that people who pass this law are some of the people who are now violating it, as you say, aiding and abetting. Let me ask you about, though, the president is now trying to take another tack. Because so many people who either sneak into this country or otherwise seeking asylum say, oh, yeah, I'll show up for my court date 3 months from now, and never do. They vanish. They disappear. And so a new rule launched by the president, endorsed by the attorney general, is that we are now going to require you to seek asylum from a different country, not inside our borders where you vanish. And the Attorney General, William Barr, says that will prevent forum shopping, but it will also prevent precisely what I just described. What do you think of that rule? Of course, it'll be immediately challenged. The president's enemies have already said they'll do that.
Well, arguably, it's just an application of the current law. So it's a rule that reflects the law, which is that, you take aside, you just can't go through third-party countries where asylum opportunities would be available to you to present an asylum claim at our border, meaning that if you're going through Mexico, unless there are severe circumstances that prevent you from doing so, there's no reason you can't apply for asylum not only in Mexico but at consulates in the United States and Mexico. Same goes further south in Guatemala and elsewhere. You know, the president is doing everything he can in many ways to try to address this crisis as his enemies, for whatever reason, think that their job is to make the crisis worse. The left they're geared towards breaking the border. And I'm hoping the judiciary begins to take a step back from its anti-Trump activism. We had a ruling just the end of last week, vindicating the president's efforts to punish sanctuary cities by putting them at the back of the line for DOJ grant making, and that was out of the Ninth Circuit. So maybe these judges will start following the rule of law than engaging in anti-Trump activism. I'm not hopeful that anything will happen in the short term, but it's a long ball game, as we've seen with the Trump administration. This is a years-long problem.
Absolutely. Tom Fitton, Judicial Watch. Tom, good to see you. Thanks very much.
Thank you.